Hello everybody, this is just a quick little religious video. First of all, I just want you to know that this channel doesn't really have a religious element to it. Like, obviously I'm a religious person, but I'm not really insanely devout, and I'm not going to claim to be something I'm not, some kind of like dour guy or whatever. So there's not going to be like a crazy amount of religious content on this channel. I hope that doesn't put you off if you've started listening because of that, but it's just not really my scene. But there will be some religious kind of videos like this one, but for the most part there's not going to be a lot of them. So I just want you guys to know that before you dive in and expect it to be some like crazy religious experience, because you know, I'm not a scholar, I'm not an expert, I don't feel like I'm really qualified to be speaking on certain topics, so I won't speak about them. And I hope that you guys respect that, and you know, are still engaging with my other content that isn't of a necessarily religious nature. But the main point of this video is really because I am now 2 days before Ramadan. Probably will be Ramadan by the time this video comes out, and I just think there's some really important things to remember as we're entering the holy month. First of all, any day fasting is a day of success, in my opinion. You know, they say that just one day of fasting keeps you off the hellfire for 70 years. So just one day makes a massive amount of difference. So please don't feel under pressure or guilty or like a bad person if you fall off for one day and you make a mistake, or you have to stop because you're feeling unwell, or you get on your period if you're a lady, or if you find out you're pregnant. You know, these are things that are unavoidable, and you need to prioritize your health, obviously, and it's written throughout the Quran and the Sunnah that it's permissible to do that. So don't feel guilty about that. And also don't let people make you feel guilty. Don't let people bully you into doing something that could potentially be detrimental to your health, because that's not smart, and what other people think really is just completely irrelevant, in my opinion. I don't really listen to anybody, within reason, obviously. I mean, if people want to come up to me with like genuine, you know, friendly, polite advice, then I will listen to it. I might not take that advice on board, but I will listen. But if people are just hateful and negative and try to put their version of Islam onto you, please don't let them do that. Don't let them pressurize you, especially if you're young or you're maybe quite a timid, quiet person. I know it can be overwhelming when somebody's applying a lot of pressure on you, and you can be easily manipulated. But everybody is entitled to prioritize their well-being if that's necessary. And another very toxic thing that sort of tends to happen within certain groups is that people will try and make you feel like you're not good enough for Ramadan. Like they'll say that you shouldn't do Ramadan, or they'll even try and excommunicate you from the religion because you still have certain bad habits that you're working past, or you're a born Muslim and this is maybe the first time you've taken Ramadan sort of seriously, and like people in your family might be sort of like negative about it and say like, why are you doing it, you're not even a proper Muslim, or whatever. All kinds of silly things people will say to you, and quite honestly that's another thing you just have to ignore. Don't let people treat you like your experiences aren't valid and that you're suddenly this awful person, because at the end of the day you're doing something positive, and you're making a step, you're making one of the 5 obligations of Islam, one of the 5 pillars of Islam. You're making a sincere effort. So really, they really don't have a leg to stand on in terms of that. Like, they can advise you against sins you're doing, but if you're trying and you're fasting and you're not doing those sins during Ramadan, and you intend to stop doing them eventually, and you're making the effort, and you're aware that you're on that road, then please don't let those people get to you. it's really not worth it. They will destroy your mental health. They'll make you feel bad about yourself. They'll give you anxiety. And it's really just not worth it. They're not worth it. They're not. You are trying, and that's enough. And you're enough. And you need to make peace with where you're at in your life and hope to strive for better things. Another problem is, with a lot of reverts, Ramadan can actually be quite a dark and lonely time, because something that a lot of born Muslims may not have a perspective of is they're used to it being like a family time, like a festival time, like, you know, meeting up with the extended family in the evening and having large meals and all praying together and going to the mosque. And for a lot of reverts, that's not their experience. A lot of reverts are very lonely during Ramadan because none of their family are Muslim, so they don't really have anybody to celebrate it with. And some of the family who are not Muslim or whatever may be critical of Islam and the concept of Ramadan itself, and they may have a lot of negativity and hostility from those people during Ramadan. So it's not a simple road, and I just want reverts to know that, you know, there are other people experiencing what you're experiencing, and you are heard, and you are having a valid experience. And born Muslims, I feel, although feel free to disagree with me, perhaps need to sometimes think about that and how hard that can be, and how sometimes some people might fail on their first few Ramadans because, you know, when you're living in an environment that's not very Islamic, like you're in a small like white town, or you're even in a larger city or town that's like doesn't have a very strong, tight-knit, you know, Muslim community, it is hard to do something like that without that community support. And I think people need to be understanding of that. I also feel that if you're single as well, like if you're married or if you have a family, you know, that's a lot easier, even if you are a revert, because they're Muslims too. You've married a Muslim spouse and you've had Muslim children, and they will be your rock during that time. But if you're like not at that stage yet, like you haven't met somebody you wish to marry, or you just don't want to get married for whatever reason, you may struggle with that. So that's another perspective, another side of that coin that people need to take into consideration. Yeah, so that's really basically it. It's a beautiful time of reflection and prayer and soul searching, and just enjoy the ride while it lasts and try your best. In terms of things like zakat as well, people obsess about zakat and like the finer details of it, and I've got to give all this money. But remember, it's like zakat's roughly about 3% of your earnings. It's not a lot of money, really. You don't have to be super rich or super showy offy about it. You don't have to put loads of posts up on Instagram like, oh, look at me, look at all this good I'm doing, because that's not very genuine. It's very disingenuous, in fact. And don't look at other people's charity works and feel bad about what you're doing, because at least you're doing something. Your obligation is to do something, you know, and we don't all have the same means. And charity could be something as simple as giving a homeless person 50p, or helping an elderly person go get their shopping, which is, you know, is a very serious problem right now. A lot of elderly people are very lonely during this corona thing and during these lockdowns. They might value the company if you've had your jabs or whatever. Like, volunteer to do something like that, or volunteer working with animals, or work at a charity shop, or like a hospital cafe, or there's so many things you can do just to help out humanity as a whole. And that's what zakat is helping other human beings and kindness. It doesn't have to be some crazy thing where you're like driving around in a Lambo throwing big stacks of money out the window. No, it's the small things that count in a lot of ways. Yeah, and that's really it for this video, to be honest, guys. Like, just try your best, and don't let people bully you, don't let people make you feel bad, don't let people victimize you. You'll be okay. You're trying, inshallah. You're on a path. You're on a journey like all of us, and don't feel inferior to others, because you're not. You're trying your best. And as we get older and as we mature, we improve, hopefully, inshallah, and we learn. So, thank you very much, guys. Salam alaikum. Take this time for what it is and how to create a better world, because that's what Ramadan's about.